Everything that God created is good. In fact, God calls it very good. I don't know if it's going in still. So, you cannot, it's very wrong to look at anything that God has created and call it bad.
So here I am to worship, here I am to bow, here I am to say, you're my God, you're altogether lovely, altogether worth, altogether wonderful to me. Oh, here I am to worship, here I am to bow, here I am to say, you're my God. You're altogether love, altogether worth, altogether wonderful to me. Here I am to worship, oh, here I am to bow, here I am to say, you're my God. You're altogether lovely, you're altogether wonderful to me. Oh, here I am to worship, here I am to bow, here I am to sing. You're my God. You're altogether altogether wonderful to me.
The first 30 verses reveals basically three things. The truth about God, the truth about the world, and the truth about man. These three things, right? God, the world, and man, right? God, world, and man. Now, what is the truth about God? Or what is the truth about, let's put it like this. What is the truth about God and nature and man? It's like this. The first chapter shows that nature, the created things, are not divine. They cannot be God. They cannot be God. See, in the ancient times when the book of Genesis was written, other nations, that lived at that time, believed that created things were gods. They believed that sun was a god, the moon was a god, the stars was a god. They were used to venerating and worshipping these created things as gods. They believed that the sun, moon, and the stars was a living soul. Many created things were basically a living soul. They're God. They can will and they can determine and so on. They saw them as a living soul. So they worshipped those things. But do you know, among the Hebrew people, from where the book of Genesis comes, from the Hebrew tradition, the Hebrew people were forbidden to worship any idols. Idolatry was totally forbidden, strictly forbidden. Why? Why idolatry is strict? What is the issue with idolatry? The issue with idolatry is, it is a thing that was made, that can never become God. How can you worship a thing? How can you worship the sun? Because God created the sun. There is a God, the creator. He must be worshipped, never the creation. So, this is something new in those days. When the Bible was written, when the book of Genesis was written, the Hebrew people, they were totally different. They refused to worship idols. Idolatry was forbidden among them because they believed God and the things that God made are two different things. Now, this will help us understand our relationship to wealth and material things. This is the reason I say that is because this is the basis of our dealings with material things. So, what is material thing to us? We do not worship material things. We don't bow before material things. We don't treat material things as God. We don't venerate material things. Material things are just things, creations. That's all. But just because we have demoted and diminished the status and value of nature and the world and said that they're not God, there can never be God, they're only created things, just because we have demoted and diminished them in status and value, it doesn't mean that we have reduced them to the nature of a mere object so that we can do with it whatever we want. We are not saying that we won't worship anything because it's only a thing. God is the one who created the thing. I'll worship only God, not the thing. By saying that, we have demoted and diminished the thing and brought it back to its original place that it should have. But it doesn't mean that we have reduced it to a level of unimportance, reduced it to a level of a mere object that we can just kick around and do with it whatever we want, that it has no value and no respect and it is not precious. We don't reduce it to that level. We say it's not God, but we don't reduce it to the level where we say that it's not of any value or there is no preciousness about the creation. What is the Christian attitude towards creation? The Christian attitude is this, Christian teaching is this, that creation that God called forth into being when He spoke the words is good. What is our attitude towards material things? It's good. What are material things to us? This is the only thing I want you to get today, before you go home, because I'm going to build on that in the days to come. The thing that we need to get today is that we believe that material things are created by God. Man never created anything. Man only takes what has been created and out of it creates something, some inventions and so on he comes up with. But man never created anything. When man creates something, that is not original creation. It's only making something of something. But God created something out of nothing. God created, really created. So what we are saying is, everything that God created is good. In fact, God calls it very good. I don't know if it's going in still. So, you cannot, it's very wrong to look at anything that God has created and call it bad. There may be some people that may use it to do bad things with it. There may be some people can take a piece of metal and sharpen it into a knife so that they can kill somebody. Right? And another person may sharpen it to be used as a tool to construct something, an equipment, right? Can be used for good and bad. But you cannot call anything that God had made evil. It is not evil, it's good. Everybody say it's good. It's very good. I like that. And as long as we teach it, every day you get up in the morning and say, everything that you look at, say it's very good. You look at your house and you say, it's very good. You look at your car, you say, it's very good. You look at your clothes, you say, very good. One man said, he's become very worldly. I said, what happened? I remember this actually happened. I said, what happened? Why you say, no, he's changed, brother. He's wearing shoes now. See what kind of background I've come from, I've come a long ways. I've traveled long distance in the spiritual life. He's wearing shoes, brother. And I have never worn anything but rubber slippers for 35 years. And this fellow is wearing shoes, becoming very unspiritual, proud, arrogant. You look at your shoes and say, very good. Because God made something out of that. This man, the shoe company has made this thing. It's not bad, it's good for you. Wear it. Keep dirt out of your feet. Protect your feet. It's good for you. It's comfortable. It's nice. It's not evil. It's not bad. It's good. Look at everything and call it good because God created whatever God has created. It's good. People said, I remember when my father bought an old refrigerator from a missionary who was leaving the country. Old refrigerator. It's like a tin can, refrigerator. That's what we could afford in those days. We went and nobody had refrigerators those days. I don't know if you remember. I think you think I'm an old man. That's not very long ago. He bought this old refrigerator, and I remember a few preachers were standing outside our house, and this refrigerator came in a rickshaw and was loaded, brought up upstairs to our house. And all these preachers are standing. One of them is saying, world is going. The world is entering into the man of God's house. World. Look at your refrigerator and say it's good. Keeps your food good for many days, right? So you can easily take it and warm it and eat it and keep the rest in there. Keeps your vegetables fresh. When God called it good, He had a foresight. He didn't make refrigerators. He didn't make airplanes. He didn't make cars. He didn't make houses. He didn't make all those things. Man made all of these things out of what God has made. But God saw that man will take this and make all of these things. That is why He saw it and said, I've created these things. I can see the future that will be created through these things by man. Therefore, I say, it is very good. I can see the comfort. I can see the joy. I can see the happiness that it will bring to men. I can see the wonderful blessing that it will be to people in their life. When God created everything, there was not even a bicycle. When Jesus was living, there was not even a bicycle. Just imagine how far Paul would have gone in a bicycle. Boy, he would have been very fast going and preaching everywhere. He didn't even have a bicycle. They didn't know what a bicycle was. Nobody imagined it. But thank God somebody thought it up. That is why, you see, you should understand this word good. When God said it's good, it had a far-reaching meaning. See, when I say the chair is good, I'm only thinking of its use, that I can sit on it. That's why it's good. Utilitarian value. It's good because somebody can sit on it. But when God said it is good, when He saw His creation and said it's good, He was not just looking at the utilitarian side of it, even though that is part of it. It's a very small part of it. He was not just thinking about the utilitarian part of it. He was thinking about something greater. In what way was it good? It is good rather in the sense of being a pure and holy thing. Something that God respects. Something that God loves. Listen to this. When God looked at His creation that He had made, He called it good, not just because of its use and how it can be utilized, but because He saw in it something that is pure and holy because it proceeds from Him. He is the maker. He cannot make anything defective and evil. It's good and pure and holy, and it's perfect. He loved it. He takes pride in it. You see many verses in the Bible where God rejoices over His creation, is proud of what He has made. He tells man, look at what I have done. Were you there when I spread out the heavens like a bedsheet? Things like that He says. He takes such pride and joy in talking about the world, the things that He has made and put there. He says, take a good look at these things, He says. Who created them? Who made them work like this, He says. So these are things that are good in this sense because they're pure, they're holy because they come from God. God is the creator. They're something that God respects, that God loves. They are something that God takes delight in. They are perfect and they are purposeful. They fulfill a purpose of God in this world. They are there for a purpose. They do not exist purposelessly. God has a purpose for them. That's why God delights in it, in the beauty of it, in the goodness of it. It is good. As I was preparing yesterday, I kept saying, it's good. It's good. It's good. Everything is good. It's wonderful. It's good. It's very good. Very good. I was going crazy with this. It's very good. Just imagine what it will do for you when you start to think like that. It's very good. Don't have a negative attitude about these things. Don't have a, that negative perspective of things. Don't look at everything critically. Don't say this is bad. That's too much of it is bad. No. Look at what God has created as good. It is pure. It's holy. God respects it, loves it, and therefore you need to respect it and love it also. When you see good things, you need to respect it and love it, right? Because people don't understand these things, they don't respect and love nature, the beautiful things. We go to beautiful places and make them dirty places. I remember one time I was driving the car, one fellow was spitting from the bus, some red stuff that he was chewing, And he just turned and the thing came all the way over here to my car. When we spit, it reaches the neighbor's house, That's how far we can spit, We learned it over the years. All of a sudden, it just landed on my windshield, No respect. And so we spit all over the street. And you go to some of the apartments, they spit on both sides. You have to walk in the center, like this. They dump their garbage anywhere and everywhere. We were living in one place, they were dumping the garbage right outside of our front compound wall and the gate, So I talked to the fellows, the authorities, and said, please, it's stinking, full of flies, and we can't even sit out there. Can you just remove it, put it somewhere else, or do something with it? Now they got a different system. You got to put it in a bag and wait for the guy to pick it up. It's a lot better. But back in those days, everybody dumped it in the public garbage thing. And it was right outside our house. We couldn't even stand there and talk to anybody. So I had it removed. So one guy that lived nearby came to me and said, how can you remove that garbage bin? I said, sir, at my expense, I will put it right where you are, right outside your house. I have no objection to it. Tomorrow I will arrange for it. He said, no, not tomorrow. It was here. I said, but this is my house. You can't have it here. I can't live in that stink. This is my house. You have it in your house. He takes pleasure in taking and bringing it and dumping in my house, There was a house by our house that was empty for many years, locked up and empty. It's a compound. And all the people around, from upstairs itself, they throw their garbage, They don't even have to. And it has become like a mountain, almost drowning that house. It's a little bungalow there. It's drowning the house so much they had to carry. Recently they got rid of it because there was all kinds of rats and stuff, running around there and coming into our houses and other houses. They don't even think because they have no concept of things around them. Swachh Bharat is going to happen when Genesis 1 is understood. Genesis 1 says that God saw everything that He made and saw that it was very good. Amen. I hope one day we can look at and see everywhere and say, oh, it's wonderful, very good. You see, let's go on a little bit. So that's nature. We don't worship nature. We understand what nature is. But we don't demote it and decrease its importance to the level where we think it's unimportant. No, no. We consider it as sacred because it comes from God, holy. We consider it as good. We consider it as very good. We don't think of it as a useless, no good thing. We think of it as something that is good, right? That's our attitude. But look at man. Genesis 1 tells us about man also. It tells us about God, about nature, and about man. But look at man. What does it say about man? Genesis 1:26 says, then God said, let us make man in our image and according to our likeness. Let them have dominion over the fish of the sea, over the birds of the air, over the cattle, over all the earth, and over every creeping thing that creepeth on the earth. Now, this is the making of man. Before God made man, God said, let's make man in our image and likeness. Now, a lot of people have been debating what this image of God. When God said, let's make man in our image and in our likeness, what is that image? Some people said it's the ability to think, reason. There's some others said it's the capacity for relationship. Some people said it's the capacity for moral knowledge, knowing what is good and what is wrong. All these things are, over the years they've said these things. But now, most of them agree and have come to a conclusion about this because they have looked at the verse more closely. The answer is right there in that verse itself. It said, and God said, let's make man in our image and in our likeness, and let them rule and have dominion over everything. That's what it says. They've always missed that. Have dominion. This mandate to rule and have dominion comes alongside of this declaration that he's going to make man in his image and likeness. So, what is man's image and likeness? What is the image and likeness of God that is in man? It is the image and likeness, I would say, that comes from God in him, the capacity to rule and reign. And what is ruling and reigning? How does a man rule and reign? You look at chapter 1, you see how God ruled and reigned. How did he rule and reign? In the beginning, God created the heaven and earth. Second verse says, the world was without form and void, empty without form and void, and darkness filled the earth. So there was darkness, emptiness, and chaos. So how does God rule? How does this King of heaven and earth, the maker of heaven and earth, rule in that situation? He removes the darkness, brings light. He removes the chaos and brings order. He removes the emptiness by bringing in wonderful, beautiful things, making beautiful things. He fills the world with every good thing we sang today. The whole earth is filled with God's goodness. You just see what God has put in this world, you see God's goodness. So, this is what God has done. This is how he ruled. And that same God says, let's make man in our image, just like us. Why did he make that man just like him? And he also says, let them rule and have dominion. Over what? Over all that we have already made. So what does that mean? It means that God makes man just like him and gives into his hands this wonderful good creation, this thing that he called very good. He gives it into man's hands so that he can now tap into it and find more resources into it, more possibilities in it, and explore it, research it, search it, and find out more uses for his benefit in the future. That's why he kept saying, it's good, it's good, it's good, it's good 6 times, right? But after he made man, after he made everything, after he made at every point he stopped and said it's good. Then he made man as a final creation. Then after he made man also, he looks at man that he has made and the creation that he has made. He looks at the two together. He says, now that makes sense. I made everything for man. All made for man, his use, for his benefit, for his comfort, for his convenience, for his blessing. This should be a blessing to him, and he has a lot more than what he can see and find now in it. And he's going to find and go into it and look into it and search and bring out many more things that are hidden in there that has never been tapped and explored. So he looks at man, who has been put as a Lord and Master over the creation, and the creation that is very good. He looks at the combination of man and creation. He says, oh, it's very good.
Our God is good, our God is great, our God is true. And there is nothing in this world He cannot do. His mighty hands were made available to you. Oh, praise His name, He's on the other side of faith. Our God is good, our God is great, our God is true. And there is nothing in this world He cannot do. His mighty hands were made available to you. Oh, praise His name, He's on the other side of faith. Keep pressing on. Keep pressing on. God's on the other side of faith. And though the clouds may for a moment fade, remember God is on the other side of faith. Keep pressing on. Keep pressing on. God's on the other side of faith. And though the clouds may for a moment hide His face, remember God is on the other side of faith. Threatening clouds may hide your vision for a while, and you may wonder if He hears you when you pray. But don't forget that God is love and you're His child. Press on in faith because the answer's on the way. Keep pressing on. Keep pressing on. God's on the other side of faith. And though the clouds may for a moment hide His face,